Welcome, seekers of truth and history. Today we explore the ultimate test of faith. Imagine waiting a whole century for a miracle child, your only flesh and blood. Then the voice of the Almighty commands you to sacrifice him on a fiery altar. Would you obey the divine order, or would you protect the son you love so dearly? Witness the agonizing journey of Abraham and Isaac to the peak of Mount Moriah. According to ancient records, the patriarch Abraham lived a life of nomadic wandering. At the incredible age of 100, a promised miracle finally arrived. His wife Sarah gave birth to Isaac, the spark of joy in their weary, sun-baked tents. Isaac was not just a beloved son, he was the living embodiment of God's covenant. Through this fragile boy, a great nation was destined to rise, and blessings would flow universally. Day by day, the old man watched his only heir grow under the warm desert sun of Beersheba. Life bloomed around them, as vast flocks of sheep grazed peacefully across the endless valleys. It was an era of profound tranquility, rewarding a lifetime of steadfast devotion. The father poured every ounce of his affection into teaching his boy the ways of the world. Isaac learned to shepherd the flocks, his innocent laughter echoing through the quiet plains. But history often tests those who are chosen, for mighty trees must weather the harshest storms. True faith, as many scholars observe, is rarely forged in the comfort of a peaceful home. It must pass through the crucible of fire, burning away all earthly attachments and desires. For Abraham, his love for Isaac had become the very center of his mortal existence. He cherished the boy above all wealth, above his lands, and perhaps above his obedience. The divine realm watches closely when a human heart clings too tightly to a worldly gift. The stage was set for an unimaginable trial that would shatter his tranquil reality. Historians remain awestruck by the sudden shifting of fate that fell upon this aging patriarch. A covenant made in blood and spirit demands a loyalty that transcends human comprehension. Abraham had followed the voice of God out of Ur, leaving his entire ancestral home behind. Yet, giving up his past was nothing compared to the horrifying price he was about to pay. The sun set over the camp, casting long, dark shadows across the sweeping sand dunes of the east. Unaware of the impending doom, Isaac slept soundly, breathing in the cool desert night air. It was in this profound silence that the heavens opened, delivering a shattering decree. A voice thundered through the abyss of a prophet's soul, demanding the ultimate sacrifice. Take your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love, and go to the region of Moriah right now. Sacrifice him there as a burnt offering, on a mountain I will show you in the distance. No explanation was provided, no room for bargaining, weeping, or desperate negotiation. How does a father process a command to slaughter the very child God promised to protect? Early the next morning, Abraham rose in stifling silence, his face pale and heart heavy with grief. He saddled his donkey and chopped the wood for the burnt offering with a trembling, weary hand. He took along 2 of his servants and his innocent boy, stepping into the harsh wilderness. This was a journey of agony, a 3-day march through barren rocks and scorching elements. Every footstep of the donkey echoed like a death knell in the hollow chambers of his chest. Isaac skipped alongside his father, unaware that he was walking towards his own execution. Scholars often wonder about the unspoken torment hidden behind Abraham's stoic facade. For 72 hours, he had to look at his son's smiling face, knowing what he must do soon. He carried the fire and the knife, instruments of mortality, clinking against his leather belt. The dry desert wind howled around them, carrying away the unshed tears of a shattered soul. Did he doubt the voice he heard? Did he wonder if a demon had taken the form of the divine? Yet his faith in the Almighty remained as unbreakable as the ancient stones beneath his feet. He believed that even from ashes, God held the power to resurrect the dead and keep his word. If you were in his sandals, facing a choice between your child and your God, what would you do? The psychological burden of this trek remains one of the deepest mysteries in theology. No other prophet in recorded history was ever asked to demonstrate such ruthless devotion. On the third day, Abraham looked up and saw the ominous peak of Mount Moriah far away. It was a desolate summit, piercing the gray clouds like a spear of uncompromising judgment. He turned to his servants and commanded them to stay behind with the donkey and wait for their return. "We will worship, and then we will come back to you," he declared with a voice cloaking his despair. Was this a lie to comfort his servants, or a prophetic declaration of his eternal hope? Abraham took the heavy wood for the burnt offering and placed it on the slender back of Isaac. He himself carried the fire and the dagger, the tools of destruction grasped tightly in his hand. As the two of them went on together, the silence among the craggy cliffs grew deafening. The wind whispered through the thorny bushes, as if the earth itself was mourning the innocent. Every step toward the apex was a heroic battle against his natural parental instincts. The steep, rugged terrain demanded tremendous effort from the weary legs of the ancient father. But it was the invisible mountain of sorrow inside his chest that truly crushed his spirit. Isaac, feeling the abnormal tension, finally broke the silence with a question so profound. "Father," he called out softly, stopping in his tracks as the chilling wind whipped about his garments. The old man paused, forcing a breath into his trembling lungs before replying, "Yes, my dear son." "The fire and wood are here," Isaac said. "But where is the lamb for the burnt offering to the Lord?" That innocent inquiry struck the patriarch's soul harder than any physical blow ever could. It was a moment of piercing reality, illuminating the cruel irony of their circumstance. Swallowing his unbearable pain, Abraham delivered a statement of absolute trust in the divine. "God himself will provide the lamb for the burnt offering, my boy," he answered with eerie calmness. And so the two went on together, reaching the desolate peak under a threatening, stormy sky. Upon the bleak summit, Abraham began to construct an altar from the rough, unhewn ironstones. He arranged the thick pieces of wood with meticulous care, his hands moving with ritual precision. The anticipation of the horrid act about to occur permeated the atmosphere with dread. Then came the moment of darkness. He took the rough hemp rope and bound his weeping, frightened son. Scriptures do not record a struggle. The boy yielded to the agonizing will of his father. Isaac was laid upon the altar, positioned directly on top of the jagged, unyielding wood. The wind roared fiercely, flapping their robes against the bleak backdrop of an indifferent heaven. The image of a helpless innocent waiting for the strike is a scar on human religion. Many ask how a loving creator could demand such a terrifying display of blind loyalty. This event is the ultimate paradox of faith, by theologians across all generations. Abraham reached out his shaking hand and took the glinting dagger from his sturdy leather belt. Sweat poured down his wrinkled forehead, mingling with the salty tears he could no longer repress. He raised the weapon high above his head, the shadow of the blade dropping across Isaac's face. The metal caught the harsh sunlight, flashing like a deadly meteor about to strike the weak earth. Does true surrender only happen when we are totally stripped of everything we hold so dear? Every muscle in the father's arm tensed, ready to plunge the fatal strike deep into the boy. He shut his eyes, bracing himself for the inconceivable gush of blood from his only beloved. The universe seemed to hold its breath as the edge of the blade began its cold descent toward him. It was the final second, the infinitesimal line between unshaken faith and brutal murder. This moment of total eclipse in reason marked the zenith of man's submission to the unknown. He proved that he valued the Creator above the promise that was so graciously given. But history holds a profound twist for those who are willing to walk into the darkest abyss. Just as the point of the dagger approached the fragile flesh, the heavens violently tore open. A brilliant shaft of volumetric light penetrated the thick clouds, blinding the weeping patriarch. The angelic authority in that beam of glory stopped time in its entire furious tracks. "Abraham! Abraham!" The astounding voice of the angel of the Lord roared out from the divine realm. The dagger froze in midair, dropping from a weary hand that had suddenly lost all its strength. "Here I am," the shattered father whispered, falling to his knees beside the unhewn altar of stone. "Do not lay a hand on the boy," the angel commanded, bringing an end to the torturous design. "Now I know that you truly fear God, because you have not withheld your only son from me." The old man wept, his tears falling onto the cold stones where his beloved child was resting. Trembling with an overwhelming joy, he quickly untied the rough ropes binding the dear young boy. Isaac sat up, crying intensely as he tightly embraced his deeply exhausted father. The ultimate trial had finally ended, lifting a monumental weight from their souls. Abraham looked up and saw a large ram caught by its majestic horns in a thick, thorny bush. It was the divine substitute, a profound miracle provided in the exact nick of time. He offered the entangled ram as a burnt sacrifice instead of his precious descendant. The cleansing fire was finally lit, sending a thick column of white smoke into the sky. This legendary mountain peak was forever named, "The Lord Will Provide," a symbol of hope. His absolute devotion solidified an eternal covenant that echoes through history. Generations would look back at this terrifying day as the ultimate proof of pure faith. Yet the psychological scars of that chilling morning on Mount Moriah would never fade away. Father and son descended the rocky slope together, forever transformed by the ordeal. Their harrowing story continues to challenge the very limits of human understanding. Was Abraham a man of absolute faith, or a father pushed to the edge of madness? Tell us your thoughts in the comments below. We truly want to hear your deep perspective. Please do not forget to like this video, share it, and subscribe to our great channel today. Isaac survived to inherit the legacy, but soon a bitter family civil war would erupt. His beloved wife's twins fought in the womb. What massive conflict will ignite over a bowl of red stew?